Welcome to Should I Read It? Should I Read It is a weekly podcast that takes a deep dive into books. I'll provide a summary of the book and tell you how the ideas in the book relate across all the books we've covered so far. In today's episode, we're going to dig into a fable that's being used to illustrate the 8 principles that Mark Schinnerer feels you need if you're going to have success in your work. Let's start right out with a quote from the book. This book is called The Success Grower. The quote says, "But then it gets hard, rules change, markets change, the economy changes, and people with new ideas come along. If we haven't been paying attention and adding to our knowledge and skills, we find ourselves getting cynical and resentful and frustrated. It affects our attitudes and our production. Over time, we end up feeling as if we've missed an opportunity or that there's more we should be doing. But we've become comfortable in our situation and can't see a way out. That's how the weeds in our life take over. We become hardened in our attitude, just like this soil in the field." The last 2 years in WordPress, which is a development space that I've come out of, have been really hard for many people that I know. I've talked to people that are struggling to find work. One person I've talked with is about to lose their house. Others left building sites for jobs in entirely non-computer related fields. There's been a change going on, and many people haven't kept up with it. Where it was easy to get work, it's now significantly harder. The low-hanging fruit is gone, and we need to reframe what we do and how we tell people we do it. In this context, The Success Grower by Mark Schinnerer gives us a useful framework for how to work on ourselves and our businesses. The Success Grower is not a marketing book or a sales book. The Success Grower is about how to grow yourself through the changes that will inevitably come your way in your field. Schinnerer wraps his 8 elements needed to grow into a great story. A story of a man that has been successful at work, and through anger, through some tough times, he takes a vacation just to get away from it all. On that journey, he gets stuck in a town and encounters a farmer that teaches him the principles of the Success Grower. Those 8 principles are: first, fertile soil, fertile mind; second, focused on the harvest; third, plant seeds for a bountiful harvest; fourth, water and fertilize for healthy growth; fifth, cultivate your mind and plans; sixth, storms happen; seventh is harvest is a marker; and 8th is mentor and mastermind. Now, under this framework of the 8 principles of a success grower, let's explore the book. The first one is fertile soil, fertile mind. I'll start with a quote. It says, "Like the soil, the mind has limitless potential for ever-increasing productivity. Care and nurturing are required. It must be fed new knowledge and insights in order for it to grow. If it is neglected and left to its own desires, it becomes a wasteland and produces very little of worth, some which we'll call mediocrity." This morning, I talked with the barista at my favorite Starbucks about learning. There were 2 types working there. First, the students who are reading their course material and really not much else. Second, those who finished their schooling and just haven't touched a book since. I can't blame the students for not reading much, if anything, outside of their coursework. There is a lot of reading to do, and you have to choose what you'll spend your time on. I do take exception with the students that have finished, though, for not keeping up their knowledge growth. The most significant indicator I've seen of success is continuous learning. According to Schinnerer, we have to cut down the weeds in our thoughts to grow, and the only way to do that is to continue to expose ourselves to ideas outside of our comfort zone. How are you continuing to prepare your mind to accept new ideas? Remember, the single biggest skill that will predict your business success is making good decisions. How will you make a better decision tomorrow? I've linked to the article about making good decisions in the show notes. And here's a quote from Success Grower. "Success isn't measured in the end result. It's measured in the little progress you make every day and the course changes or corrections you make when faced with an obstacle." Now, if you want success, you gotta take one little step every day. And that's gonna take us to element 2, focused on the harvest. In the moment, it's easy to do what is the easiest. It's easier not to get up at 4:45 and run to the coffee shop, leaving a perfectly good car sitting at home. It's easier for me to let my kids watch TV all the time. But neither of those things will mean that I'm building a body that can keep up with my kids as I get older. They won't mean that I'm building resilient kids that can stand up to what life will throw at them. If you want to focus on the harvest, you need to know where you're going. You need to have a plan for your life. You need to have a why behind your actions, a purpose that keeps you going in the midst of struggles that will come your way. Here's a quote from Schinnerer. "Nothing has been achieved in history of man that wasn't first a dream." Now, once you have your dream, you need to take that dream or that why and come up with the action that it's going to take to get there. You need to do those actions day in, day out, looking back at your why when you don't feel like doing them. Michael Hyatt talks about this in Your Best Year Ever when he says, "You don't usually drift to a destination you would have chosen. Instead, you have to be intentional. Force yourself to get clear on what you want and why it's important, and then pursue a plan of action that accomplishes your objective. Obstacles in life are around to test your learning and your resolve." Does your purpose beat the obstacles that you're going to have come your way? Element 3 is plant seeds for a bountiful harvest. After your why, you need the actions to accomplish it. The things you do day in, day out because they're putting you on the path to achieve your goals. Here's a quote from Schinnerer. "There's so much negative thought and conversation in the world today. You must combat it with positive, encouraging thoughts. You do that by reading good books. Read every day, even if it's only for a few minutes, but do it every day." This is why I read for an hour in the morning every day, 5 days a week, because it's one of the actions that help me grow. And here's another quote from Schinnerer. "Your life is not a hobby. You must have purpose for your growth and learning. We work on our hobbies when we have time. To have a successful life, you need to commit to continual learning and personal growth. Planting seeds is why I work hard to have a phone or face-to-face meeting with someone every week to talk about my coaching. It's why I write these book reviews, and why I write so much more on my site, and why I run this podcast. The writing and thinking continue to plant seeds to draw people towards me. What seeds are you planting week in and week out? Are they intentional? Are they drawing the clients that you want towards you? Are they drawing the types of people that you want to connect with towards you? That brings us to element 4, which is water and fertilize for healthy growth. Here's a quote from the book. "Once you stop learning, you no longer will be able to see with clarity the path you are on, and the influences of the world around you will begin to creep in and overtake you." Learning isn't something you just do at the beginning. It's something you must continue. Like the baristas I spoke about at the beginning. You must continue to water and fertilize your mind and experiences if you want to get a bountiful harvest. If you stop, the weeds are going to grow. You're going to stop producing good fruit and start producing weeds of destruction. Element 5 is cultivating your mind and your plans. Here's a quote from Schinnerer. "Cultivating your mind isn't just attacking the weeds that come up. It's a constant, ongoing process of adding good, positive ideas and thoughts." One of the best articles I've read is called "The Other Side is Not Dumb," and yes, there's a link to that in the show notes. This article talks us off the ledge around calling anyone that doesn't agree with us idiots. They often aren't, and demonizing them as idiots is only a way to make us smug and assured that we can't make mistakes. The intellectually honest way to approach this is to engage with the other side and weigh the merits of their position. Maybe they haven't thought it out. It's also possible that you haven't thought out your position and you're the wrong person. Element 6 is storms. Here's a quote from The Success Grower. "As in all things, a choice will be required of you. Will you choose to let the storm destroy your life and plans, or will you choose to build a shelter from the storm and pick up after it is over to keep moving forward? The only way to weather a storm is to go through it. Nothing in life is all smooth sailing. There are bumps and bruises and tumbles. Look at the legs of any kid and you're going to see how many bumps and bruises come along in life. A fault we have is that we expect to waltz to success like it's some sort of fancy musical. Oh, we probably acknowledge that issues might come up, but if your plan doesn't have issues and how you're going to deal with them in it, you're not ready to succeed. Any action plan to get to our why should have potential roadblocks listed and how we're going to deal with them. If you don't have that in place, then don't expect to hit your goals. Expect to hit roadblocks and just be lost in the woods. Expect to be derailed. Element 7 is harvest. To start this, Schinnerer reminds us that a harvest is merely a marker. It is not and should not be the singular aim of your efforts. I aspire to be an author and a speaker and a coach, and I see that in 5 years. But in 5 years, that person will still be 5 years in the future. I don't see myself reaching a point where I can't hone my craft further. My book reviews continue to get better, and I continue to become a better writer. It is important to recognize that a harvest is only a marker. It's also important to recognize that marker. How are you celebrating success? When I publish a book, I stop and have a small celebration with my family. Then I get back to the writing and to the research for the next project. And our final element of a success grower is mentor and mastermind. Here's a quote from Schinnerer. In all of time, great success has come to those who seek out the wisdom of those who have traveled the path and success before them. To pass on the knowledge of maneuvering through obstacles and challenges in order to help another reach their goal is the ultimate achievement of success. Who do you look to? I've said before that I look up to Ryan Holiday and Mark Manson as writers. I read their stuff and I take a few moments to dissect why I like it, to ask myself, what about their style and tone do I enjoy? Then, how does my style and tone match up to that ideal while keeping my own voice? I can't get the time one-on-one right now, but I can use them as yardsticks to measure myself against. This episode of Should I Read It is brought to you by my coaching programs. If you're tired of not having a niche, of fighting clients for every dollar you earn, and of just working way more and not getting to see your kids, go to curtismchale.ca/workwithme, and that's dashes between work with me, and get in touch about coaching. I love to work with men that want to work hard and still get home to see their families because a big bank account and broken relationships is still failure. Now, as always, our final question is, should you read Success Grower? I'll be honest, I've heard a lot of these principles before. I've read them in many books, and I've written about them. The thing that sets The Success Grower apart from other books is the story. The way the lessons are woven through the life of two people as they experience things together brings the learning to heart. It helps it stick. So yeah, I do recommend you read The Success Grower. This is not just a good book for a first-time author. This is a great book to help you take the things you already know and internalize them. Thanks for listening to Should I Read It? To support the show, you can leave me a review in iTunes or a heart or a star in whatever podcast player you use. These help more people find the show. If you want to get more reading done, you should get an Audible membership. If you use curtismchale.ca/recommends/audible, that will help the production of the show financially. In our next episode of Should I Read It, I'm going to take a look at H3 leadership. Can you be hungry, humble, and still hustle so that you can win at work?